Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation. My name is Francis. I'm 28 years old, and 3 months ago, I went on a company-sponsored business trip that changed everything. But here's what nobody knew. I checked into that hotel as a man everyone thought they understood. Reliable Francis. Quiet Francis. The one who always says yes when the boss needs someone to stay late or take on extra work. By the time I walked out of that hotel room 48 hours later, even the people paid to notice everything, the front desk clerks who see hundreds of faces every day, didn't see me coming. They saw someone completely different. Someone confident. Someone elegant. Someone who moved through the world like she belonged there. Someone real. And the strangest part? The reason I brought those clothes wasn't the reason I ended up wearing them, because I never intended to leave that room. Before we dive in, please take a moment to subscribe. And if these stories resonate with you and you'd like to support the channel, you'll find my Buy Me a Coffee link on the About page. It's a simple way to show appreciation and help keep the Gender Diary growing. No pressure. Your presence here already means so much. Let me tell you who I was before that weekend. At work, I'm exactly what you'd expect from someone who's learned to make themselves small. I show up 15 minutes early every day. I meet deadlines. In meetings, being noticed has always terrified me. And at night, alone in my apartment with the curtains drawn and the door locked and my phone on silent, I became someone else entirely. I'd stand in front of my bedroom mirror wearing dresses. I'd practice walking in heels on the hardwood floor, trying to find a rhythm that felt natural instead of awkward. I'd watch makeup tutorials on mute, learning how to contour my face to make my features softer, more feminine, how to blend eyeshadow so it didn't look muddy or harsh, how to make my lips look fuller without looking overdone or costume-like. I bought wigs too. This wasn't a hobby. It wasn't a phase. It was a lifeline. Those nights were the only time I felt connected to something real inside me. A deeply private feminine side that had been with me for as long as I could remember. Quiet, patient, waiting for moments when it was safe to exist. And over time, I started bringing pieces of that hidden world with me when I traveled for work. Not to wear in public. God, no, not even to wear in the hotel room, really. Just to have nearby. Like a talisman. A reminder that she, this other version of me, was still there. I'd pack one dress, maybe a pair of heels, some basic makeup, and I'd leave them in the suitcase, untouched, safe. Those clothes weren't about escape. They were about connection. But this trip was different. This trip, I didn't just pack one dress, I packed everything. The trip itself was supposed to be straightforward. Standard, corporate routine. 5 of us from the office, 4 team members, and our boss, Margaret, flying to a mid-sized city 3 states over for a 2-day strategy meeting with a potential client. We'd been working on this deal for months. Presentations, proposals, conference calls that stretched late into the evening. This meeting was supposed to seal everything. 2 days of FaceTime, handshakes, relationship building, then home. Margaret had booked us all at the same hotel. One of those modern boutique places that corporations love because they look impressive in expense reports. The kind of place where the front desk clerk asks how your flight was and actually seems to care about the answer. We checked in on a Tuesday afternoon. Margaret had booked us all on the same floor, rooms 412 through 416, which made sense logistically but also meant I couldn't fully relax. Even in my own room, I was hyper-aware that my coworkers were just a few doors down, that Margaret might knock at any moment to go over talking points for the next day's meeting. So the suitcase stayed closed that first night. I ordered room service, watched half a movie I'd already seen, and went to bed early. The meeting started Wednesday morning at 8. They were long, draining. The kind where you sit in a windowless conference room for 8 hours straight and lose all sense of time, where lunch is sad sandwiches brought in on plastic trays, and you eat while someone presents their 3rd PowerPoint deck of the day. But we powered through, because that's what you do. Wednesday night, we all had dinner together. Forced team bonding at an overpriced restaurant Margaret picked. We talked about the meeting, what went well, what needed adjustment for day 2. Everyone was polite, professional, exhausted. I went back to my room at 10, changed into pajamas, and lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The suitcase sat in the corner, still zipped shut. But by Thursday evening, something had shifted. The client was impressed. We could all feel it. Margaret was practically glowing when we wrapped up the final session at 6 p.m. "We did it," she said in the hotel lobby, her voice full of relief. "They're going to sign. I can feel it." We celebrated with drinks at the hotel bar. 1 round turned into 2. People started loosening their ties, laughing louder, letting the tension of the past 2 days drain away. By 9, everyone was ready to call it a night. We had early flights the next morning. Margaret reminded us to have our bags packed and ready by 7 a.m. I went back to my room, set an alarm, and started packing. This was it. The trip was over. Work done. Back to the airport. Back to my apartment. Back to normal. I thought I'd never even open that hidden compartment in my suitcase where the clothes were waiting. But then Friday morning happened. We were all in the lobby the next morning at 7, suitcases packed, ready to go. I was scrolling through my phone, halfway checked out mentally, already thinking about the pizza I'd order when I got home and the long nap I'd take on my couch. That's when Margaret pulled me aside. "Francis, I need you to stay a few more hours, just in case anything comes up." I looked up from my phone. "Sorry?" She handed me a manila folder. I glanced at the folder, then back at her. "Few hours." "I know," she said, and there was genuine apology in her voice. "I know it's a lot to ask. I need you." It wasn't really a question. It was never really a question with Margaret. "I'll make sure you're compensated," she added quickly. I could have said no, technically, but I'd spent years building a reputation as the person who says yes. The reliable one, the one who doesn't make things difficult. "Okay," I said, because that's what I always said. Margaret's face flooded with relief. "Thank you. You're a lifesaver. Seriously." She squeezed my shoulder, then hurried off to join the others who were loading into the airport shuttle. 20 minutes later, I stood in the hotel lobby and watched my coworkers pile into that shuttle. They waved at me through the windows. I waved back, forcing a smile. The shuttle pulled away. And just like that, the hotel became quiet. The lobby, which had been buzzing with business travelers checking out and families loading up their minivans, suddenly felt emptier, calmer. I stood there for a moment, my suitcase at my feet, and realized something that made my pulse quicken. For the first time on that trip, it's just me. And a hotel room with my suitcase full of clothes I'd never had the courage to wear outside my apartment. I picked up my suitcase, walked to the front desk, and confirmed I'd be checking out tomorrow morning as planned. I went back to my room, still 414, same as before, and set my suitcase down in the middle of the floor. Then I just stood there, staring at it. I walked to the window and pulled back the curtains. The view wasn't anything special. Just the parking lot and the street beyond, a few trees, some other buildings. But the light coming in was soft, golden, late morning sun that made the hotel room feel warmer, more private. I closed the curtains again, not all the way, just enough to create that sense of seclusion I needed. Then I turned back to the suitcase. My hands were shaking as I unzipped it. I'd packed carefully. Everything was exactly where I'd left it. My work clothes on top, dress shirts, slacks, the blazer I'd worn to the meetings. Underneath, wrapped in a soft drawstring bag I'd bought specifically for this purpose, was everything else. The outfit, the tights, the boots, the wig in its protective mesh case, the makeup bag I'd assembled piece by piece over the past year, foundation that matched my skin tone exactly, eyeliner that didn't smudge, mascara that actually held a curl, lipstick in 3 different shades depending on the look I was going for. I'd brought these things on most of my trips. But sitting on the edge of that hotel bed with the curtains drawn and the door double locked, I felt something shift inside me. A voice I'd been ignoring for years suddenly got louder. "What are you waiting for?" These clothes were meant for night, for privacy, for stolen moments when no one was watching. But now, the opportunity was different. The fear I usually felt, that constant low-level anxiety of being caught, being seen, being known, it started to dissolve. And in its place, something else rose up. Not recklessness. Not bravery, exactly. Intention. I didn't bring them for this, but this felt like what they were waiting for. I stood up, walked to the bathroom, turned on the light and looked at myself in the mirror. But underneath that face, I could feel her, waiting, patient, ready. I turned on the shower, and once I started changing, I couldn't stop. The water was almost too hot, but I didn't adjust it. I wanted to feel something. Wanted the heat to wash away not just the day, but all the days before it. All the years of hiding. I stood under the spray for a long time, letting it beat down on my shoulders, my back, my face. Steam filled the small bathroom until I could barely see the mirror. The hotel soap smelled like eucalyptus and mint. Clean, sharp, new. When I finally stepped out, I felt lighter, scrubbed clean, like I'd shed a layer of skin. I dried off slowly, methodically, wrapped the towel around my waist and wiped the fog from the mirror. This was the part I'd practiced 100 times. But it had always been rushed. Hurried, done in the middle of the night when I had to be awake for work in the morning when I was constantly checking the clock, aware of how little time I had before I needed to transform back. Tonight, I had time. All the time in the world. I walked back into the main room and laid everything out on the bed like a ritual, like I was preparing for something sacred. The outfit first. Then the tights. The boots placed carefully at the foot of the bed. The wig on its stand on the dresser. The makeup bag unzipped, every product lined up in the order I'd use them. I stood there for a moment, just looking at it all. This version of myself disassembled, waiting to come together. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I took a breath and began. The outfit was a sparkly charcoal gray two-piece set I'd found online 6 months earlier. I'd spent weeks debating whether to buy it. It was more expensive than anything else I owned. More real, the kind of thing you don't buy on a whim, the kind of thing you buy when you're serious. The fabric shimmered subtly under the hotel room lights, catching the glow in a way that felt elegant instead of flashy, sophisticated instead of costume-like. The top was asymmetrical. One long fitted sleeve that hugged my arm from shoulder to wrist, the other shoulder completely bare. The crop cut exposed my midriff, not in a way that felt provocative or overly sexual, but in a way that felt confident, intentional, like I knew exactly what I was wearing and why. I slipped into it slowly, carefully. The fabric was soft, stretchy, form-fitting in a way that made me hyper-aware of my body. The bare shoulder felt vulnerable in the best possible way. Exposed. Seen. The long sleeve grounded me, made me feel put together instead of underdressed. I adjusted it in the mirror, smoothing out the fabric, making sure everything sat right. Then the skirt. It matched perfectly. High-waisted with draped ruching at the waist that created texture and movement. The asymmetrical hemline cut diagonally across my thighs, shorter on one side revealing more leg, just a bit longer on the other. Modern, elegant, deliberate in its design. I stepped into it carefully, pulled it up over my hips, adjusted the waistband until it sat exactly where it was supposed to. The ruching created visual interest, made the simple silhouette more complex. The asymmetrical hem fell perfectly, the shorter side hitting mid-thigh, the longer side dropping just a bit lower. I turned slowly in front of the mirror, watching how the skirt moved with me, how the sparkly fabric caught the light from different angles. This was real. This wasn't practice anymore. Next came the tights. Sheer black, the kind that caught the light just slightly, adding a layer of polish and sophistication. I'd learned through trial and error which brands were worth the money. The ones that didn't run the first time you put them on, that didn't sag at the ankles or bunch at the knees. I sat on the edge of the bed and rolled them up carefully, the way I'd watched women do in YouTube tutorials. Gathering the fabric, creating a small opening for my toes, then slowly rolling them up my leg. Making sure there were no runs, no twists, no wrinkles. They slid into place like a second skin. The right leg first, then the left. I stood up carefully, adjusting the waistband, smoothing everything out. And then the boots. Black suede thigh highs with a slim 3-inch heel and a pointed toe. I'd saved for 3 months to buy these. Stalked the website, waiting for a sale that never came, finally buying them at full price because I couldn't wait anymore. They were beautiful, sleek, the kind of boots that made a statement without being loud about it. I sat back down and slipped my right foot in first. The suede was soft, luxurious. The heel added height immediately. I zipped up the side slowly, the zipper gliding smoothly all the way up to mid-thigh. I stood up slowly, adjusting to the height, the angle. The way my entire posture changed instantly. My back straightened. My hips shifted. My steps became smaller, more deliberate, more precise. I took a few steps across the hotel room, feeling the carpet under the pointed toes, hearing the soft sound of the heels connecting with the floor. I'd practiced walking in heels before. Hours of practice, but these were different. These weren't practice, these were real. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror and had to stop. Had to look away. Not yet. Not until I was finished. The hair. The wig came next. A short blonde bob with dark roots, smooth and straight, cut just above the shoulders with a slight angle that framed the face. I'd chosen it because it felt modern, effortless, the kind of hair you'd see on someone walking through a city, confident and unbothered, living their life without apology. The dark roots made it look more natural, less like a costume, like something someone might actually choose at a salon. I looked up at my reflection. There she was. Not fully formed yet, still transitional, but emerging. The woman I'd been hiding was starting to show through. The makeup. Makeup was the part I'd practiced the most. Hundreds of hours spent watching tutorials, trying techniques, learning what worked for my face and what didn't, learning to see my features not as obstacles but as opportunities. I'd gotten good at it. Really good. The kind of good where I could do a full face in 20 minutes if I needed to. But tonight, I had time. So I went slow. Savored every step. I started with primer, a thin layer all over my face, creating a smooth base for everything else. I let it set for a minute while I organized my brushes. Then foundation. I applied it with a damp beauty sponge, dotting it across my face first, then blending in small circular motions. Forehead, cheeks, nose, chin, down my jawline, down my neck, making sure there were no harsh lines, no visible edges where Frances ended and she began. Then contour, all through to the eyes. I blended everything carefully, making sure there were no harsh transitions, no muddy patches. Finally, the lips. I lined them first with a nude pencil, slightly overdrawing to create the illusion of fullness. Then filled them in with the same pencil to create a base. Lipstick over top. A soft pink with just a hint of coral. Not too bold. Not too neutral. Just right. I pressed my lips together. Blotted. Added another layer. Then I stepped back from the mirror and took a breath. Each step didn't add something new. It removed something false. Every layer of makeup, every careful stroke of color wasn't creating a mask. It was revealing what had always been underneath. The face I saw in my mind when I closed my eyes. The face I knew was mine but had never been allowed to show the world. I looked in the mirror, and for the first time in my life I saw myself looking back. I walked back into the main room, the heels clicking softly on the tile floor of the bathroom before transitioning to the muted thud of carpet. The full-length mirror by the closet reflected someone I'd seen before, in glimpses, in stolen moments in the privacy of my apartment late at night when I could finally exhale. But this time was different. This time, she wasn't a secret I had to hide before sunrise. I looked up at the mirror and for the first time I felt no shock, no doubt, no hesitation, no voice in my head telling me I was fooling myself, that I looked ridiculous, that I should stop before someone found out. Just recognition. I wasn't dressed as her. I was standing as her. My posture was different. Shoulders back, chin up, hips angled slightly to one side. The sparkly fabric of the top caught the light as I shifted my weight from one foot to the other. The asymmetrical hemline of the skirt moved with me, swaying slightly. The blonde bob framed my face perfectly, softening my features in a way that made me look like someone who'd always been this way. I looked beautiful, not in a way that felt borrowed, not in a way that felt temporary or fragile, in a way that felt mine. I stood there for what felt like hours but was probably only 10 minutes, just looking, taking it in. Letting the image settle into my bones, into my memory, into something real and permanent that I could carry with me. I turned slowly, watching how the outfit moved, how the skirt flared slightly when I spun, how the boots made my legs look longer, more elegant. I smiled at my reflection. She smiled back, and then I realized something that made my heart race and my palms sweat and my breath catch in my throat. I had to walk out, not because I needed to, not because there was anywhere I had to be. Not because someone was waiting for me or expecting me, but because this version of me, this woman staring back from the mirror, deserved to exist outside of a locked hotel room. She deserved to be seen. For 2 years, I'd kept her hidden. Safe, yes. Protected. But also imprisoned. I'd told myself it was enough just to know she existed. That I didn't need anyone else to see her or validate her or acknowledge her. But standing there in that hotel room, looking at my reflection, I realized I'd been lying to myself. It wasn't enough. She needed to breathe, to move through the world, to be real in a way that went beyond 4 walls and locked doors and drawn curtains. Margaret had already left. My coworkers were gone, probably boarding their planes right now, headed back to lives that had nothing to do with me. The only people in this hotel were strangers who had no idea who Frances was, who had no expectations, no history, no preconceived notions of who I was supposed to be. For the first time in my life, I had the chance to be seen exactly as I was, and I wasn't going to waste it. But the fear was still there, sitting heavy in my chest, whispering all the things that could go wrong. What if someone recognizes you? They won't. I'm 3 states from home. No one here knows me. What if someone laughs? Then they laugh. And I walk away. What if someone gets angry? What if someone tries to hurt you? What if you can't do this? What if you walk out there in panic and everyone sees you fall apart? But what if I don't? What if I walk out there and I'm fine? What if I'm more than fine? I grabbed the room key from the nightstand, checked my reflection one last time, adjusted the wig slightly, tucking a strand behind my ear. Smoothed the skirt with my hands. My phone sat on the bed, face down. I picked it up, hesitated, then left it there. I didn't want any distractions. Didn't want the temptation to document this, to take selfies, to try to capture something that could only be felt. This was just for me. I walked to the door, put my hand on the handle, took a deep breath, opened it. I stepped out into that hallway and the door clicked shut behind me. The lock engaged automatically. No going back without the key card in my hand. I stood there for a moment, my back against the door, just breathing. The hallway stretched in both directions. Identical doors. Room numbers in brass. Exit signs glowing red at either end. No one was watching. No one cared. I started walking toward the elevator. My hips swayed slightly with each step. Not exaggerated, not performed, just natural. The way they wanted to move when I wasn't thinking about it. I reached the elevator and pressed the button. The display above the door showed it was on the first floor. Heading up. Third floor. Fourth floor. It dinged. The doors opened. A middle-aged couple stood inside. Business travelers, from the looks of them. Tired. He was loosening his tie. She was scrolling through her phone. They looked up at me. I stepped inside. Lobby? The man asked, his finger hovering over the button panel. Yes, please, I said. My voice came out higher than usual. Softer, but not forced, not fake, just natural. He pressed the button. The doors closed. The woman glanced at me, offered a polite smile, then went back to her phone. That was it. No staring, no whispering, no silent judgment, just normalcy. The elevator descended, floor by floor, the numbers counting down. And I realized something that made me want to laugh. I was doing it. I was actually doing it. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. And I stepped out into the hotel lobby. It wasn't crowded. Friday evening. Most business travelers already gone. Weekend tourists not yet checked in. But there were people. Enough people. A couple checking in at the front desk. A businessman in the corner near the windows, on his phone, pacing back and forth. Two women in their 30s sitting in the lounge area with glasses of wine laughing about something. All these people, all these witnesses to this moment. I walked across the lobby slowly, heading toward the bar area, trying to look like I belonged, like this was normal, like I did this every day. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it, but no one was looking at me. Everyone was absorbed in their own lives, their own conversations, their own problems. I was just another person passing through. And then I heard it. "Excuse me, miss." I froze. My first instinct was to keep walking, pretend I didn't hear. But my body had already stopped moving before my brain could decide. I turned. One of the desk clerks, a young woman with dark hair pulled into a neat bun, probably mid-20s, with warm brown eyes and a genuine smile, was looking at me from behind the front desk. "I just wanted to say," she continued, her smile widening, "I hope you enjoyed your stay." For a moment, I couldn't speak, couldn't process what was happening. "Thank you," I managed, and my voice came out steady, warm, real. She nodded, still smiling. "Do have a great day." "You too," I said. I turned and kept walking, my legs trembling slightly, my mind racing. She saw me. Really saw me. And she saw exactly what I wanted her to see. A woman. In a beautiful outfit. Looking good, nothing more, nothing less. I made it to the bar and slid onto one of the high stools, grateful for the chance to sit down before my legs gave out completely. I sat there for a moment, staring at the wine glass, my reflection visible in the mirror behind the bar. There she was, sitting at a hotel bar. Real. Visible. Alive. No one was staring, no one was whispering, no one was pointing or laughing or calling security. They just saw me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't hoping to pass. And if you're still listening right now, you probably already know this feeling. That quiet moment when something clicks inside you and you realize you can't go back to pretending. Normal interactions. Normal responses. This was what it felt like to move through the world as myself, and it was better than I ever imagined. For years, I'd carried this part of myself in secret, hidden her away, told myself it was safer that way. Easier, that it was enough just to know she existed, even if no one else ever saw her. But walking through that lobby, it showed me something I'd been too afraid to believe. She isn't something I put on. She's someone I've always been. And she deserves to exist. Not just in stolen moments, not just in locked rooms, not just when it's safe and no one's watching, but in the world. Because the world didn't reject her, the world saw her. And the world said, "You look beautiful." I checked into that hotel as who I was expected to be. And I left knowing who I truly am. But now, when I pack for business trips, I don't hide those clothes at the bottom of my suitcase out of shame. I pack them out of love. Because they're not a costume. They're not an escape. They're not something separate from who I am. They're part of me, the truest part. And one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, I won't need a locked hotel room 3 states away to let her exist. She'll just exist, everywhere, all the time. Because that night didn't turn me into someone else. It introduced me to myself. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt like you're living 2 lives, or if you've ever had a moment where you finally saw yourself clearly and realized you couldn't go back to pretending, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your story. I read every single one. And if you want to hear more entries from the Gender Diary, stories about transformation, identity, and the courage it takes to become who you really are, hit that subscribe button, because this is just the beginning. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me share this part of myself with you. I'll see you in the next entry. The end.
The Gender Diary exists to light that path with shared stories. Whether you found connection in this narrative, you're on your own journey of gender exploration, or you're here seeking understanding, your subscription fuels our mission. Every subscriber empowers us to keep illuminating these authentic experiences for our community. Kindly drop a comment below. Your voice adds to the tapestry of experiences that makes this space meaningful. Until our next story unfolds.